Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
I don't know how this happened, but don't look now. The Cowboys might be in the playoff hunt. They're 5-7. Don't give me that face. I know what that face means.
Okay.
5-7. They play the 4-8 Bengals tonight on Monday Night Football. They win tonight. They get to 6-7. They play the Carolina Panthers, the 3-10 Carolina Panthers next week. They get to maybe 7-7. It's not inconceivable. I know.
True.
2 weeks ago, it was a less than 1% chance. Now it's still not great. However, it's not inconceivable that this team, at the very least, finishes above 500 at this point, which we
what
thought
do they need
was.
to do? They need to get to 9 to get in?
I would say at least.
Yeah.
You might need to get to 10 because Washington might get to 10.
Yeah. And Tampa Bay keeps winning.
If it's 10, then it's then it's probably done. Because they would then need to win out.
There would be a crazy tiebreak at 9 with all these teams that are going to get there.
Yeah, they would need to get to 10. I mean, obviously the Niners are 6-7. The Cardinals, I think, are 6-7 now. The Seahawks are 7-7, I think.
The Buccaneers.
Everything is kind of just right in that little area. I think Tampa's going to win the division, but that's just me. It's kind of just weird to look at this. Like, we left this team for dead. I left this team for dead. I still am kind of leaving the team for dead.
I'm still leaving the team for dead.
They were 3-7, and everything was, the sky was falling. But Chuck, I mean, to their credit, they've rallied and they've kind of put their names back in the hat.
I jinxed them because I wrote them off. I mean, I went through the years. Hey, in the last 20 years, they've only been irrelevant on the final week of the season, like 4 of those years or whatever the stat was. And since then, yes, they've won 2 in a row and somehow, some way done it. I mean, you look at this roster and who's not playing week to week, and the fact that, Cooper Rush, all he does is win football games, right? 7-3 as a starter. Again, we've talked about this before. Mike McCarthy, to me, is at his best when the roster is at its worst. I mean, he's the best at figuring out how to best put guys in the best situation. They're running the ball better now. You think you lose a guy like Zach Martin, the world would, for sure come crumbling down up front. Nope, they're running the ball better than they have all year with Brock Hoffman in there, and they've robbed Peter to pay Paul. They're moving guys around. They're doing all kinds of things, and again, I think we're week to week now, right? It's as we sit here today, they're 2 games behind Washington for the final wild card spot. They've already beaten Washington once, and if they beat them again, which they would probably have to because they meet them again, they would own the tiebreaker against those guys too. So yes, all is not lost, even though we are coming down the final month of the season.
But there's other teams between them and Washington too.
There's a lot of teams. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to battle their way back into this thing. But it's amazing to see what they've done with what they don't have at the moment. Putting Rico and saying he is the anointed number 1 back and Zeke is the backup, I thought was a really good move, and it was long overdue. I think we all thought that Rico was going to be the number 1 back coming in, but then Zeke ended up being number 1 on the depth chart, and all of us were a little confused. Now I think Rico is starting to come into his own. You have Zeke, who is now the clear backup and is just there as kind of a locker room guy. I think something can be said about this team lifting themselves of some of the expectation. Once those expectations were lowered, they started to exceed them. But I don't think the expectation level changed, if you know what I mean. Like, the level was always here, but our expectations coming in were here because they're coming off 12-win teams or 12-win seasons. But now our expectations are down here, so now it looks like they're exceeding them. You know what I mean?
I'm just, it also goes to show you too. I mean, everybody's saying, okay, tank the rest of the season. Let's get a first-round draft pick and all that nonsense. I mean, these seasons are too long. I mean, even a team like the Carolina Panthers, who the Cowboys have to play down the stretch here, they're not going to be an easy out. Ask the Eagles yesterday. You're getting everybody's best punch because jobs are on the line week to week. And then also, a lot of these guys, even if your team's record isn't that good, you're playing for a spot somewhere the next year. And if you've got bad tape or it looks like you're tanking, I mean, it just does not happen in the NFL. There's too many jobs at stake. There's too many dollars at stake to do this.
Chuck, to that end with the Panthers, I was just looking at some of the look-ahead lines today because I like seeing who's favored and whatnot. And the Panthers are favored next week against the Cowboys.
No kidding.
Yeah, it'll be the first game in 34 games, if it holds, by kickoff. It'll be the first game in 33 games that the Panthers are favored. That's what people think of the Cowboys right now, and that's why I think we're seeing them exceed what are lowered expectations on.
I think that's fair too, but I think also too Carolina has shown over the last month. I mean, they're pretty darn good.
They should have beat Philly yesterday. They had a ball in Xavier Legette's hands to beat Philly yesterday, and he dropped it.
Couldn't they have beaten the Chiefs?
They should have beaten the Chiefs too.
Yeah.
They should have won both of those games. Bryce Young has been playing extremely well. As far as the game goes tonight, they're getting some reinforcements back. You got Zach Martin obviously out, Juania Thomas out. Everyone else is kind of up in the air. Tyler Guyton might play. That's a little bit questionable. Trayvon Diggs might play. Hopefully he does, so we can actually see him and DeRon Bland on the field together at some point in their careers.
And two. You have all three of them at the same time.
Exactly. But do you guys think that, like, Joe Burrow in this offense is one of the best in the country? It's one of the best in the NFL. They've been scoring 30-plus points a game every week, what seems like all year. Their defense is bottom 5 in almost everything. I put it down here. They're bottom 5 in defensive yards allowed, points allowed, passing defense, red zone defense, and third down defense. I think my question going into this game is, can the Cowboys keep up?
Yes. But it's the question that was asked McCarthy repeatedly over the last week, which is, are you going to play for basically 3 and 4 yards of play, ball control, run the clock, keep their offense off the field? And he dodged the question and smiled all week. That's, of course, how you have to play against these guys. Can they win? Yeah, they can. Will they win? I don't know, but that's going to be the goal.
The line is Cincinnati. When I went to sleep last night, it was 5.5. I think it's 4.5 now. So Cincinnati's 4.5-point favorites, which is, I think, is crazy. I don't think they're 7.5 points better than Dallas, which is basically what you're saying, because Dallas has the 3 points built in for the home field advantage. I think the line's a little nuts. I think the over-under's kind of nuts too. It's 49.5. So I think if you think Cincinnati's going to win this game, it's going to be a 40-30. If you think that Dallas is going to win this game, it's going to be a 24-21. That's just kind of how I look at it. I just don't know if they can score 24 points on offense without their defense scoring a touchdown for them as well.
Yeah, I was impressed with Burrow last week in the loss. I think
he impresses. He would be the MVP if they won half of their games.
I think they put too many points on the board for the Cowboys to keep up with the rush. I'd say 34-21.
Chuck. Man, I know you were going to ask me to pick this ball game tonight. I mean, I'm just fascinated to see what else.
I always ask you to
see how
pick
it's going to turn off. All right, I'll say 24-21 since you threw it out there.
Cowboys?
Copycat.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be 20, just in the sake of being different, 24-20. Actually, I'm going to go 23-20, Cowboys.
Wow.
But because I think that they won't be able to score touchdowns on all of them. It's going to be 3 Brandon Aubrey field goals.
You think the Bengals are going to be held at less than 23?
I think 20, just because if this is the healthiest this defense has been all year.
Okay.
And so if Trayvon plays, I can see a defensive touchdown coming into play with a fumble from Chase Brown. Hopefully not, because I need 16 points from Chase Brown in fantasy. But anyway, so does Javier. I need 16 or 17 points from Chase Brown to get into the playoffs. So that's all I'm hoping for tonight. So anyway, I'm going to go Cowboys win tonight. I really think that the Bengals are just listless, which sucks because I believe on this show at the beginning of the year I picked them to be the 1 seed. So let's not rehash that one.